Hi, I'm Andy from Andy's Workshop Corner, and today we're going to be working on cars. We're going to replace the alternator, or we're going to upgrade the alternator to a higher quality alternator. We're also going to upgrade our starter to a high torque starter, both of the alternator and the starter from Powermasters. I'll be doing a complete review on that. Also, we're going to be replacing the power steering pressure hose, which is apparently leaking. So, very small leak, but we're going to fix that. So, let's get started. When you're upgrading your alternator, there's the old alternator that is going to be eventually replaced, is to upgrade the wire system to handle the new amperage. I've already done this. It's pretty straightforward. I replaced the battery cable there with a 1 gauge wire. I like to use red for positive. I don't know why. A lot of people don't care. I do. That wire right there runs all the way down to the starter, which is, you can see how it's um, positioned right through there. And then I also replaced the ground wire, which is right there, and the ground wire is tied to the block of the engine. Something that's internally regulated right now. There is my external regulator. I am not going to be using that anymore. I'm going to be taking that out, so I'm going to be replacing that alternator and also removing the external regulator there. Additionally, when I remove the alternator, I'm also going to replace the power steering pressure hose, which is right underneath there. There's a little small tiny leak, not that big of a deal, it really doesn't even leak that much, but it annoys me. Therefore, I'm going to take it out and replace it right there. And also, I'm going to be replacing the starter with a higher grade, high torque starter as well. First step before you start any electrical work on a car is to remove the battery cable. I typically like to remove the ground plug, that way I don't have to worry about any sparks, but because it's hard to get to, and I've made this connection very easy to get to, I am going to disconnect the hot. Next thing I'm going to do is remove the alternator. Okay, now that I got the wires disconnected from the alternator, I am going to check the gauge of those wires. And actually, I'm going to redo them regardless because we are up in the amperage of those. And plus, this car is 53 years old. So most likely, they're probably the original wires. So I'm going to redo those coming from the alternator. All right, I have the new wires ran for the alternator. It's a 150 amp alternator. And the directions for the power number 6 stranded, and I ran one for the ground. This is attached to the body of the engine, for the ground, and the new wire I'm going to attach to, according to the directions, I'm going to attach it right to the junction box here. There it is right there. This is the new number 6 wire. I've routed it through, and I'm going to make it look a little bit nicer. But anyways, so I've got the new wire for right there for my alternator. Also, I've got the excite wire and the indicator generator lighter wire already hooked up, which I'm going to replace this connector. Now, while I got the alternator off, I'm going to replace my power steering pressure hose that has a leak in it. You can see it right there. It's pretty simple. There is just 2 bolts right here that's easier to access without the alternator in the way. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that now. So I've mounted the alternator, and now all I'm doing is just making the connection with the new wires that I ran. Like I said, I ran the ground off of the engine body here. I have a new wire, 6-gauge wire for the alternator, because it's based on the directions that came with the wire instructions here. It says right here, for 150 amp, for 120 amp, for 150 amp, use 6-gauge up to 6 feet, which is exactly what I did. I also stated earlier when I had the alternator out that I did replace the power steering pressure hose, which is right down there. I actually got that from Rock Auto, and there it is, if you guys can see that. It's pretty simple to replace, but the cool thing is that when I ordered it, you know, I just put in the model and number of my car and told it was a 350, you know, just a standard 350, and the hose fit so much better than the other one they had in there. They had some kind of funky hose that was, here's the hose that they had in there, and I had to actually cut it loose, but that freaking thing got caught up in the fan blade, or not the fan blades, but the belts, and it was just stupid. It's probably the reason why it leaked. But anyways, you're gonna find a lot of that stuff in these old cars. Just putting on the ground strap right now. Strap, and it's completely away from the block. It's made sure of it from the heat of the engine, I should say. There you go. So while I'm in here upgrading the wire, I'm gonna clean up a little bit of this stuff here. Just make sure it's off the engine, make sure it's organized, and make it look better. All right, now I'm just going to tighten down the alternator. And then I hadn't put tension on the belt yet. I don't know why, I'm just kind of stalling. I still got to put the starter in. So I'm just going to tighten it up enough. All right, so the alternator that I got is internally regulated. But however, the old one was external regulated electrically. So, and that is the external regulator right there. And this right here is the plug that plugged into it. So it's real simple. So what it says to do, and I watched this guy on YouTube. Seemed like a really smart guy. He said just run jumpers between the two outside and the two inside, and that's my next step. So I made 2 jumpers, and I am going to plug them into there. All right, there you have it. Got the 2 jumpers plugged in. I'm looking at the directions of the new alternator, and it says I can either connect it to the starter or the battery. So since I'm replacing the starter, I am most likely going to connect it to the starter. But however, just for test purposes right now, I'm going to connect it to the battery. I've got a quick connect cable that I purposely put on there just to test it. So that's what I'm going to do right now. All right, so I am going to clean up this wire right there. I'm not going to leave it like that, but I just want to let you know that I connected it here just for test purposes. Also, in the directions, it said that it was very important to make sure that the belt is tight. So, I was looking at some guys on YouTube, and they said that you can depress it a certain amount here. And that deflection right there is determination of how tight that belt is. Now, I'm learning how to be a mechanic. I don't have much experience with this, so most of the guys on YouTube tell you that it's kind of an experience thing. So hopefully I'm going to start to get it. But anyways, yeah, so that I tightened the belt. I've made my connections according to the directions, and I'm going to do my first test. So here goes. All right, now we're just putting here. So all you have to do is just put it on 12 volts DC. Here on it, you can see it. That's pretty darn good right there. That means it's charging. I'll have to do a little bit of research, but it looks pretty good. Okay, now I'm gonna just clean up the wires a little bit, make it look a little bit better. Right now it kind of looks like a novice, which is exactly what I am. Did it, but I'm gonna clean up the plug. I'm gonna use this little connector here to clean up the wires in there. My generator light did come on and go off, so that's exactly what I wanted to see. But anyways, so everything worked good. Hey man, kudos to the guy. So one thing that guy said on YouTube, he said, always disconnect the battery. Apparently, I think he had a pretty bad experience. But I want to let him know I am following his advice. So I'm disconnecting the battery anytime I'm touching this electrical system. But anyways, that's what's going on next. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to hit the phone. There you go. It looks much better. Now I'm gonna clean up these wires right here. They look really bad. All right. Well, got the wire cleaned up. I'm gonna clip those wire ties off, and got my power steering pressure hose in. That was I don't know. It kind of sucked because they had the wrong hose in there, man. That was hard to freaking maneuver. But anyways, put some power steering fluid in it, clean it up. I still got some stupid stuff to do, like figure out the vacuum on this. But you know what? It may not be right. It's according to the book that I read, but man, that sucker runs, shifts gear. I can mess around with it, but it runs great. So I know you guys that are experts are thinking, well, man, he's got all his vacuum hoses. Well, I'm learning, but I'm telling you right now that the car runs great. I just cleaned up the wires, redid the wiring for the battery, which sucked when I first got this car. But hey, man, baby steps.